The Boogeyman.
And somehow Cuvelier has won a game, and he's looking to steal another one. As we're cutting into game 3 here, both players are shuffling. Brad, first and foremost, what kind of graveyard hate do we have in that sideboard for John?
Well, we have 2 Ground Seals main that might have got their game 1, but the sideboard has 2 Slaughter Games and a Ground Seal.
Okay, so not a ton.
Nope, we got Bonfires though, and that's a good card in this matchup.
And other than that, just looks like your standard Jund deck, honestly.
It's very standard. It's got 2 Hellkites in the main, that's fine. Interesting to note, yet again, another Jund deck with 2 Bonfires main, 2 sideboard. Splitting up with like a Mizzy Mortars main and a Mizzy Mortars sideboard. Yeah, he just has like 1 or 2 of all over his main deck, and then extra copies in the sideboard, just in case.
Okay. And John was going to be on the play for this one, so he certainly lost game 2, and he'll be on the play for game 3. Taking a look at Michael's deck list here as both players look at their opening hands. This is a very traditional look here at the Junk Reanimator deck list. He does have 2 copies of Lingering Souls, 1 Deathrite Shaman in his main, 6 Mana Accelerants, and 4 Avacyn's Pilgrim, and 2 Arbor Elves. Does have the 3 Centaur Healers, 1 Acidic Slime in his main deck. And for Brad, hopefully we will see a Crater Behemoth, as there are 2 of those here.
Oof.
But both players have kept their 7 cards. John is going to start off with an Arbor Elf, and you're going to see Michael come out with his Avacyn's Pilgrim. So we have Mana Accelerants as we are underway here, Game 3, Round 5. Cuvelier versus Segal, Jund versus Junk Reanimator.
Yeah, one thing that's fun to point out in Michael's sideboard is he's actually playing the I can't say Primordial.
I think it is pronounced Sepcurial, is what I'm going to go with.
Black Primordial, right?
Yes.
All right, so turn 2, Bonfire, again, 1 for 1. These Jund players are not messing around. They know they have to deal with this Mana Acceleration.
And you don't want the Junk Reanimator deck to get ahead of you, because it is very difficult to come back, because we're going to see a mulch here. It's going to turn over Restoration Angel, Unburial Rites, Overgrown Tomb, and Abrupt Decay. So, Overgrown Tomb will go to the hand, those guys will go to the graveyard, and that'll be Michael's turn.
But John does have the Ground Seal coming up next turn, so we're not going to see the Unburial Rites do anything unless Michael boarded in his Acidic Slimes or draws his other Abrupt Decay, or one of his other 2 Abrupt Decays.
And we do see Ground Seal right now. A card we'll bring up on the screen for you guys. A card that is making main decks very quickly in Jund decks. So we see a Blood Crypt and an attack there from a very tough Arbor Elf before passing the turn. Ground Seal, again, a card that's making main decks nowadays to kind of slow down these Junk Reanimator decks. How do you feel about this card as a main deck card? It does cantrip, so it's not so bad.
It's probably my favorite graveyard hate spell right now, because yes, it doesn't get rid of the whole graveyard, but it does deal with the things you need to deal with while cantripping, so you can draw multiples of them, as well as being a good graveyard hate spell against blue decks. I like that it stops the Snapcasters in blue, white, red, and it stops a couple snaps from Esper, as well as just being a silver bullet against your worst matchup and drawing you a card altogether. And you usually have time in those matchups to cast it in the early turns and not really make a hiccup. So like perfectly right here, he spent a turn killing a guy, then playing that, and now he's going to play a 5-drop into a 5-drop.
We are going to see an Overgrown Tomb coming to play untapped here for Michael. You know, Ground Seal does remind me of a card that we've seen many years ago. I don't even know if you played competitive Magic back then. A card called Sabo's Web.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Let's see if you can find that one to bring up on screen. This was a card that, you know, did a nice job against Rashad and Port, among other things, and it did cantrip. And so Ground Seal also cantripping and both costing 2 mana. There are some parallels there. See Sabo's Web, Brad. You learn something new every day. Invasion, baby. That old card border.
Don't untap during the controls tap step. Wow. That's pretty cool.
You got to shut down the Schadenport. The Schadenport used to just dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too good. And now we're going to see a
Thunderball. You know what else is too good?
What's that?
Thunderball Hellkite.
That's a good Magic card. And it's coming across for 5 here. So it's putting the clock on Michael immediately. And Michael has to spend his turn taking 2 and Abrupt Decay.
Too bad there's no Serenity in the sideboard.
Yeah.
Or in the graveyard.
He has to Abrupt Decay that Ground Seal. As Brad said, no Angel Serenity in the graveyard, just a Restoration Angel to bring back. And that's not very good against Thunderball Hellkite.
No, but we have 5 deep, or we actually are going to mulch, and then we still have a salvage, so...
Sunpetal Grove, Woodland Cemetery, Avacyn's Pilgrim, and Grizzly Salvage.
All right, well, it's good to get a land that doesn't shock us, and we can dig again for 5. And the great thing about Grizzly Salvage that has come up a couple times is it's optional to take something. Now, Tracker's Instinct has put so many Crater Hooves and Angel Trinities in my hand, and like when I want them in the yard. But Grizzly Salvage, you can just say, nope, don't want any of these cards.
And I didn't know that about Grizzly Salvage, so we'll bring that up on the screen for you. I know you are an Unburial Rites Grizzly Salvage master. You don't have to take one of those cards.
Nope.
That's interesting.
And it's only come up once where it was 4 spells in a target that I didn't want.
Sure.
But yeah, when I was playing the first versions of Humanimator, the Human Reanimator combo deck
Yeah.
that we played in Atlanta. Okay, dead. But when I did that, I multiple times like just had 5 options, didn't take any of them.
Sure.
Like I want them all in the yard.
As we are going to see a Slaughter Games here from John. He does have a Thragtusk, an Ultimate Price, and an Overgrown, or he has a Murder, excuse me, a Thragtusk, an Overgrown Tomb. So you see Michael considering casting a Grizzly Salvage that you talked about,
Yeah,
and if you're John, Brad, what are you naming with the Slaughter Games?
It's that 7-drop that kills all the things and does all the stuff.
So you want to name Angel Serenity.
That
as
is
we
true.
see Grizzly Salvage turning over Evanston's Pilgrim, Centaur Healer, Gavney Township, a Sever the Bloodline, and a Temple Garden are the cards you see off the Grizzly Salvage. Now, there is an argument to be made of taking maybe out in Burial Rites as well, but Brad, you say that you want to go with Angel Serenity. To Sever the Bloodline, now that you see that off Grizzly Salvage, any rationale behind wanting to maybe name that?
No. You have to cut it off at the source, and he could go Thragtusk, Angel Serenity to take over this game. The Unburial Rites can make Thragtusk, but you have a Thundermaw Hellkite. That Sever the Bloodline isn't going to do much because it's a flashback spell that costs 7 mana, where Thundermaw is already hitting him, and the clock is faster than his mana development.
Okay.
And so, depending on what you think Michael's going to do with this turn, you just always play it safe. Always take the Sphinx's Revelations. Always take the Angel Serenities.
Okay. Well, we see Michael is going to take a Centaur Healer to his hand. John is going to resolve this Slaughter Games, and we will get confirmation from our spotter exactly what he's naming as he does grab a card, search through the deck. And what is going to go bye-bye here? Thragtusk is the card,
What?
so John disagrees with you. And I was actually going to bring this up to you because Thragtusk is the card you said where he can go Thragtusk, Serenity. But when you're racing with Thundermaw Hellkite, maybe you just want to prevent your opponent from gaining any life whatsoever.
I think that's actually like a big play mistake on Michael's part of salvaging first, because that gave extra information. Now, if he didn't salvage first, I do believe John would have had to name Angel.
Okay.
But like, because he did it before the Slaughter Games, it gives him perfect information that there's no way an Angel Serenity hits the board this turn. And the only high impact card is Thragtusk. So like, with that situation, yeah, Thragtusk is the correct choice. But holding that Grizzly Salvage up forces John's hand into taking either Unburial Rites or Angel Serenity.
Sure, almost certainly changes what he's going to name there.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to say that it happened out so fast, but casting that in response is just worse, because if he names Angel, then you get to see 5 other cards. You don't want to see an Angel if he's going to name it.
So now we do see an attack here from 6 by Cuvelier. In with that Thundermaw Hellkite and the Arbor Elf. Centaur Healer is going to gain Michael 3 life, push him up to 8. But he is in a little bit of trouble here, as he is going to play, looks to be one of those Ravnica dual lands. It is going to be a Temple Garden, and he does just pass the turn back. So Jonathan's able to top deck maybe another Thundermaw Hellkite. This game will be over on the spot.
Well, he's going to drop him down to 3, and Michael's going to be able to gain 3 life next turn and present a chump blocker and then sever. But John's just going to play a stream of Thragtusk starting out with this one.
And so you do see a Thragtusk here from John. He did draw a Ground Seal for the turn, so his hand is Ground Seal and Murder. Michael just draw a card. He draws an Abrupt Decay, a card that is not going to save him from that Thundermaw Hellkite right now. He can flashback on Burial Rites on that Restoration Angel if he'd like. I mean, he also has a Restoration Angel in his hand. Not the greatest of plays, but does buy him time.
I'd want to keep that in the graveyard just in case he maybe potentially could do something with a Crater Hoof.
So now we do see Restoration Angel on the main phase. Don't want to run into any Searing Spirits, Abrupt Decays, and removal to break this up. He does want to get this 3 life right away, so he's going to go up to 6. And it looks like he's going to have to pass this turn back, considering Abrupt Decaying maybe that Arbor Elf right away.
I mean, I feel like the Beast token is going to be a little bit more problematic.
And it looks like Michael comes to the same conclusion that you do, Brad, as John is going to draw a card, and that's the miracle. And that is a concession. John Cuvelier with a top deck Bonfire of the Damned.
And that's exactly what I was saying earlier in the day, is that the Bonfires are those cards and those Naya and the Jund matchups where you're playing, you're tangoing. Obviously, John was way ahead in this game.
Yes.
But, like, if there was a little bit closer, if Thragtusk were being resolved, that's the card that just ends the game immediately. You don't need the Graveyard Hit. You have the Bonfire. You have 10 mana in play, and you get the job done.
There can only be one Bonfire of the Damned. There's no other card like it when it gets turned over off the top.
It hurts.
It does not feel
time.
good. And every time I'm on the receiving end of one, all I can do is laugh, because I've done it to so many people in my day that I can't even get mad or feel bad about it.
The only tournament I played it in was at the Pro Tour where everyone played Bonfire.
Yep.
And I Bonfire Miracled one time for one X, killing one elf.
That's horrible. That's it?
Yes.
That's the